So the transfer window in full flow. Forest technically have signed no one, and Crystal Palace find out their fate tomorrow. Welcome to Grumpy Old Reds. Evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to Grumpy Old Reds, where we're going to be talking about the transfers. I've seen the thumbnail, and I don't like it. I do not like it. Forest Noble. My God, am I going to hear that from the ops? On that, I'm having
And
words.
me.
And you. Well, we're getting to get into that because, in a way, some of these names are. But we'll come on to that. Make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you've subscribed as well. Get your hellos in the chat. There's a lot to discuss. I want to get your lot's take on Henderson. That's definitely coming up tonight because that's boiled my blood. We'll talk about the Juventus players that are linked. We'll talk about the one who's saying no to us, the new AC Milan player being linked. Loads to talk about. So let's jump into it. Before we do, by the way, quick reminder, make sure you join. If you're on Discord, if you're down with the kids, they're on Discord. Easiest way to get in touch. Are we all on? I'm on. And you're on the Discord server. I see.
Am I?
You are? Yeah. Rob, you definitely are. So you can message and abuse
I know
these...
I am because it pisses me off every time I reboot my Plex laptop. It comes up and starts bothering me.
So go and bother Ant some more and start DMing him on Discord. Right, he's in the FFTV one. The link's pinned in the chat. Make sure you join. I'll shout out any of the new joiners as you come in. All right, I want to jump straight into this one. The Nick's been an ass. He's put Forest Noble on the thumbnail. I'm gonna fire him. What are you boys saying? Is there any? Has he got any truth?
Pay rise for such an insightful title.
Go on.
Well, we obviously haven't got any pull, have we? I mean, it's quite obvious we haven't. Why should we have?
Well,
I mean, it's all relative, isn't it? We've got pull if you compare us with Derby County or Notts County or Sheffield United. Of course, we've got more pull than them. But we've got nowhere near the same amount of pull as Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United, Man City, Tottenham.
Don't go that far.
No, I have to go that far because it's true. It's not right, but it's true. You know, Tottenham, okay, they finally won a trophy. But prior to that, we all know they'd not won a trophy for a long, long time. They finished 16th, 17th in the Premier League, but they've still got more pull than us because they're London, they're Tottenham Hotspur, they're glamorous. We've been out of the top
glamorous.
23. Yeah, they are glamorous.
Two out of those are true. One isn't.
They're a glamorous team. They've got a fabulous stadium where when players go to look around the stadium, trust me, they're going to be impressed. They're going to think, I want to play in this arena. Okay. So they've got all that. They're in London, which for a lot of foreign players is a humongous pull. I mean, if I was moving to France and I had the choice to go to Paris or somewhere I'd never heard of, basically, you're going to be pulled by that Paris glamour. And it's the same with foreign players. You know, London is a magnificent city for rich people.
Have you been to Tottenham?
No, for rich people.
Have you been to Tottenham?
Of you and I.
Have you been to Tottenham?
It's got everything.
Have you been to Paris? Paris is a shithole.
Yeah, no, I've not been to Paris. You know what? You've
never been to Paris?
I heard it was a dog shit capital of the world. But
it is. It's crap.
It's never appealed to me. It's never appealed to me. I'd rather go somewhere else if I'm going to.
You know what? I was reading Twitter the other night, and it said the Iran-US war thing that France had already surrendered.
Just in case.
Wow, we're off to a great start, aren't we?
Can I just say,
you got annoyed with me for upsetting New Zealand, but you know.
Look. There's
come on, Rob. What's that in France is perfect. In fact, it's encouraged for Brits.
There's someone on this panel who has more pulling power than Forest. So I don't know. Like, I've never been to Italy. You've never been to Paris. I've never been to Italy. Why would you want to come and live in a country where the rain's crap, everything's crap? Like you say, the rain's not brilliant.
It's reliable.
Yeah, okay.
Wait. How's our rain crapper than
Okay,
someone
not
else's?
I meant the weather. Look,
Okay.
if you're
That's
a
a
rich
fallacy,
footballer,
actually. Look at it. Our weather's beautiful, mate.
if you're a wealthy
Honestly.
footballer earning 20, 30, 40 grand a week, whatever it is, and you live in a nice, sunny resort in Italy, I don't know why you'd want to come and live in England, to be honest. I have no idea why anyone would want to move to England.
England's the best country in the world.
Countries are merely the weather.
You know, England
You know what I
got voted the second most depressing country in the world.
Oh, don't take any notice of silly things like that,
Which was
Benjamin.
first?
It's absolute tosh.
Scotland.
I can't
Was
remember.
Scotland first?
No, it wasn't Scotland. It wasn't Scotland.
Edinburgh was
what were you
voted
about to say?
best
That
city
England
in
is
the
second
UK.
most depressing place to live in the world.
Second, yeah.
After Scotland.
Well, so you'd rather live in Lebanon or Iran or Iraq or out to Mongolia or all
What's
these
wrong
other
with that
places.
country?
The weather's good out there.
It's stupid.
according
It's
to
Weather's
stupid
good out
thing
there.
to say, Ben.
It's all about
I
the
think-
weather, though, isn't it? The weather's. Anyway, forget the weather. We didn't get Champions League football, so.
You know, when I
Right,
go on
you know
holiday,
what?
after a
It's
week of
over.
sunshine, I get pissed off and I want it to rain because it's so boring. You wake up every day, oh, it's sunny. Oh, it's sunny. Great.
Yeah, but people
Anyway.
leave the country
But
to go to those nice places. The only reason anyone's ever been to Luton Town in the history of life is to leave the country.
Okay,
There's no
you nicked
reason
my
to go to
joke.
Luton
That's
Town.
plagiarism.
That's what, I'm going to Luton in September. I'm not going because I want to go. I'm going because I want to leave the country.
Right. Well,
You're a
I'm
strange
sure we'll
person,
manage
mate.
without you. So anyway, what I was going to say is, I think there's two factors playing in here. I've been watching various people's predictions for next season, and the
Already?
the highest I've seen for us is about 12th. Right. So I think everybody is treating this season as if it was a flash in the pan. We know differently, right? We know our owner and we know his ambition and we know that the only way is up. In fact, we spent most of the season third and we dropped right back down to seventh. So we're seeing this as we're going to kick on. But the fact is, other people don't see it that way, right? We could be sort of anonymous next year, like Bournemouth or somebody like that, right? Now, so that's the first point. I think that until we, it's a circular reference. Until we get some major signings, people don't expect us to do well next year, and therefore they're looking at us as a mid-tables prospect. So that affects the pull-in power. But the other point is, let's be clear, right? Even when they finish 17th in the table or whatever, Man United can and will still pay 3 times the wages that we will.
True.
Right? Yeah. So there's a reason that there's a so-called Big Six, because these clubs are selling shirts in Indonesia or whatever, and they can afford to pay 3 times the wages that we do. So leaving aside league position, right? Leaving that aside, the Big Six have got the wages power. So all of our targets, it's a domino effect, right? And we're not top of the pile. We come after the Big Six, right? So all the players that we're interested in, whether it's Vlahovic or Yilmaz or anybody like that, or Gyökeres, they are waiting to see whether their services are required by Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Daniel Levy, because they will pay them 3 times as much as Marinakis will, right? And only when those clubs finally make their moves for these various players will we see who's left. And then we will be fighting with the likes of West Ham for those people, right?
West Ham.
Well, they've always, whenever we're interested in anybody, and as Ant says, they can offer London. We can't.
Bro, Tottenham is better than East Ham.
West Ham Stadium's shit, man. There's
I know.
fucking bubbles everywhere.
You've been to East. I used to live near there, man, in New Cross. It's an absolute dive.
It's a fact.
Yeah, but they won't be living there, will they?
They still have to smell the air there at some
They'll be living in
point.
Epsom or something like
They'll
that.
be getting an Uber down from Nottingham every day.
Yeah. And the one that worries me the most is Igor Jesus, right? Because I haven't seen him at the City Ground in a Forest shirt yet. Now, that's because he's still a Botafogo player, right? But
well done, Rob.
Yeah, but everybody's watching him on TV now.
Good
And what happens if
observation.
they win the World Club Cup and he scores a hat trick in the final?
He's already signed, man.
No, he hasn't. Right? Look, until I see
You've
him.
seen the messages, man. Like, seriously.
I don't think he can have signed because I don't think he can play.
Subject to medical.
Sign
Yes.
for two clubs at the same time.
Yeah,
He's currently a Botafogo player, so he can't apply for it as well.
So
he might have a pre-agreement, but I don't think he's actually signed.
He is still a Botafogo player. He is still a Botafogo player, and there is every chance that deal.
You do understand. You do understand, right? That a contract you sign can be from X starting date.
Yeah,
you get that. Yeah.
In what court?
It's not a pre-contract, man.
It is.
In what court would we challenge that? Would we take them to court in Brazil if it falls through? Are we going to take them to court in Brazil?
The only way it falls through is if he fails the medical. That's why there's the difference between him and Jair. He's already announced he's fucking forget the contract. Forget who we've spoken to about the contract, right? He's literally had his goodbye ceremony at their stadium in their last game.
So in the shop window right now.
Good. He's ours.
And I must admit, Tim Vickery, I watched Tim Vickery.
I tell you what, Mark,
he was singing
it down when I'm speaking then, right? Because it's the only fucking voice I've got. That is a very unproductive bit of feedback. What do you expect me to do about that?
I love
very unhelpful. Just piss off.
Don't use it. Just don't use it so much. Yeah, Tim Vickery gave him an absolutely glowing report. I mean, he was talking about him literally as if he was the next, R9. He says he's got everything. He says he's got everything. He could play all across the front. He can hold the ball. He can break. He really did give him a glowing report, and I found that quite encouraging because I don't always necessarily go along with Tim Vickery, but he is renowned for being the expert in South American football. So I don't think he'd go out on a limb as much as that if he wasn't confident about his ability to flourish in the Premier League.
Who's this, Rob? Who's this?
That's Apollo Creed. Anything about say about Tim? And by the way, we're trying to get him on Diaries of Clash and everything. Is he did big up Sosa to me when we interviewed him last season.
Yeah, mind you, I will continue to say this about Sosa. The lad has not been given a chance at all.
I don't know if he's good or not. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't know. We don't know. Yeah. Let's just catch up on these super chats. Shout out to Poison Soup because Rob, you seem very animated tonight, buddy.
He's a changed man. He's a changed man.
Any frustrations?
It's the heat. It's the heat. It gets everybody a little bit nudgy sometimes.
You look freshly shaven as well, Rob.
Yeah, new jumper. You've straightened the scarf. The scarf. The room looks. Have you dusted the walls?
It looks ironed. Your shirt looks ironed as well, man.
Who are you trying to impress, Rob? That's what I want.
Bring up to my guy Mark with the 5 gifted memberships. They didn't pop up on my screen. So no, here they are. So SDFC Benny, congrats. Available Ninja, congrats. Jamie, congrats. Nico, he always seems to get one, congrats. And Dylan as well, congrats. Make sure you thank. I want to see some thanks in the chat from Mark, absolute legend with those gifted.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to be honest with you, right? I'm going to come to you, Ant, on this because you were saying this the other week and I tried to poo-poo you a little bit, right? It's like the window and all this. And I know people in the chat are going to be like, oh, still, we're not even in July. Preseason hasn't started. Players on holiday, da-da-da. I'm starting to get pissed off and bored of this window. I don't like names. These two Juve players, man.
I think we all felt, didn't we, that we were going to get one or maybe even 2 really exciting big-time signings. And it's looking less and less like it. I read today that... Tablets. I read today that... I can't remember who it is, but somebody's in for David Luiz. Not David Luiz, Douglas Luiz now.
Yes. It was Man United.
Yeah. Here you go. And he's a typical Man United signing, So I can't see where this big name's coming from, and I do put it down to lack of pull, not lack of ambition on our side. I think if we could go out and get Gyökeres for 70 million, we would. But obviously, there's no chance of that. There's no chance he would come to us, and it's down to this pull situation. We were in that awkward situation where we finished well in the league, but we're still not considered a big club, and.
I think we are considered a big club, but we can't pay the wages of them.
Not a big, no. I think we can pay the wages if we want to.
Yeah, but I don't think we would. We're not going to pay someone.
When I say not a big club, we have a big reputation. We're a well-known club, but we're not in the financial situation of your Man City, Man United, Liverpool. I mean, when you look at the kind of dosh that they're putting out, Chelsea, it's not surprising they've got more pull than we have, and it's something we have to accept. However, how far down the list are we? What kind of players can we attract?
Do you think, Ben, if we had got Champions League, final boss here saying, I feel guilty for this pull problem, Wolfie. We got Champions League. Do you think we'd, have that pull, unlike Liverpool and that stuff?
I think we'd have a bigger pull. I mean, I'm guessing that most players, one of their greatest achievements would be playing in the Champions League. So I presume that would be a bigger pull than being in the conference. But I don't know. I feel like it's more of a lifestyle thing. Like if you look at the players' Instagrams and stuff like that, like every weekend they're in London, and they're very wealthy people. And I'm not sure Nottingham is the right city for everyone. Like these young
Liverpool
lads,
is and Manchester is.
Yeah, but Manchester is a big city. It's like I've never been to Liverpool. But it's like a small London, Manchester. It's not like Nottingham. Like if you're
Manchester have got money, Ben. Both those clubs will throw a lot of money.
The point I'm trying to make is if you go to a place like London or Manchester, forget the football for a sec. If you're, I don't know, a young 25-year-old lad and you're earning 100 grand a week and you want to splash the cash and show off and drive nice cars and bloody blah, go out partying, Nottingham, I don't really think is the city.
Hang on, sorry to interrupt, Ben, but you shouldn't be partying when you're a professional footballer.
Yeah, but they do party. Look at Jack Grealish. He's in
Ibiza. Yeah, I know, but he's a one-off. He's a one-off, hasn't he?
He's not a one-off, man. I used to live in London.
He's a one-off.
I used to live in London for 8 years. When you go to some of these bars, they're full of footballers. Saturday night, they're full of footballers.
Yeah, but they used to come to Forest. Like when I was in Notts, right? It was 6-to-1 ratio for a start. That was always the myth. Women to men, right? So that in itself had pull. And no pun intended.
Yeah, but we used to have the VIP bar at Gatecrasher. That's gone. All these places are gone.
I know. What is it? Is it the city kind of falling down a bit that's causing this? Because the Birmingham players used to come across to have a night out. And
I don't think it's falling down. I just don't think it has that big city pull. Like if you go on holiday somewhere you've never been before, say France or whatever, you think Paris. In England you think London. You don't think Nottingham if you're an overseas player.
You do, man.
I don't think of. I don't know, a random country. If I think of Romania, I think of Bucharest. I don't think I want to go and live in Iași because no one's ever heard of it. But they've got a football team there. Exactly. These international players, like it's London, isn't it? It's your perception. It's your perception. What are you going to do?
It's probably look. It's probably the only city they've heard of in England.
Yeah, I mean, Amit's just made a very good
because I live in a wonderful city that I consider to be quite easily the best city in the world.
Facts.
That doesn't mean that everybody else has even heard of it. They might know Nottingham because of Robin Hood and Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, look, they would know more about Nottingham than they would about Liverpool, man. Liverpool,
no, because the Beatles came from Liverpool
and stuff, right? We got Robin Hood.
Sorry, Wolfie, and they have a football club that is the most successful football club probably in world football, except for Real Madrid. They've won 20 league titles. They've won 6, 7 European Cups, countless FA Cups, and everything else. They are extremely successful. I hate to say it because I hate them, I do, but it's true. So when people think of Liverpool, now in the past, they used to think of Forest, Brian Clough. Yeah. and I'm talking about a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
So there was Forest, Robin Hood, and Brian Clough. In Liverpool, it's the Beatles and Liverpool Football Club. So that's a big attraction for.
All right,
you
Manchester.
can't
What did
blame them.
Manchester have?
Crime.
Sorry, Manchester have Manchester United. That's what they're most famous.
Yeah,
They
but
got
Manchester.
mustaches, man.
I know you hate Manchester, but Manchester is a really nice big city.
No,
it's like
That's
not,
another
man.
thing, Ben.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
is.
know, but
Manchester's
Ben, you're on
not
about rain. It pisses in Manchester more than anywhere in the country.
Exactly.
Man.
And Manchester's full of Libyans as well, man. I don't go anywhere near that place, man.
So do you not think that the way that we finished the season might have fueled this? Because people they look at our last four home games.
I think
No,
it's
they
so
look at
simple. I don't
our
know what
last
the
4 home
discussion is
games.
about.
No,
I don't know
I
what the
think
discussion
that,
is about. It's the fact that Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, even Chelsea, for God's sake, and Tottenham are considered to be big clubs.
Yeah.
Throughout the world.
Okay.
We're not.
and we spent most of the last 30 years in the second division. So, you know.
All right. So let me run this one by you then. Newcastle. Okay. Way up north. They've pulled in Isak, Bruno. They were with us in the championship.
But they pulled in Isak and Bruno when nobody was that bothered. I remember
they
when Isak
also
went to Arsenal and everybody
but
was
they
thinking,
still paid, they were still paying 60 odd million for him.
St James's Park is nearly double the capacity of the City Ground. It's what the City Ground.
Okay, but I'm talking about the factors, Rob. They were in the championship with us not long ago, and add Aston Villa to that as well. Aston Villa, Midlands club. They've pulled in some players.
Who do they attract?
Emery for a start. They got the manager.
Oh, come on.
What?
Emery? He was Emery, the manager.
You don't think that's a decent pull?
No, I don't.
Put your Arsenal goggles off for a second, right? He hasn't done well for them. He hasn't done well for them.
About the right size manager for the right size club.
Okay, and then you can still talk about the players. Whether or not, and I can't stand this prick, Rashford, they were able to attract him in January.
See, I'd take Rashford at Forest.
No way, man. No way. You got Tillemans. Tillemans was sought after. They got him.
Tillemans was free. Nobody wanted him.
Yes, they did.
Seriously.
Arsenal wanted him. No,
they did. They did until they got Odegaard.
Whatever, right? Kamara, good player. They got Asensio in the last window on loan. They're attracting players, and they were attracting them last year.
This is an interesting point. Nottingham is the 14th largest city in the UK. So if you were looking at that in a different country, you would have never heard of it.
That's bullshit. That's about where you draw the boundaries, right?
Yes,
it's actually the Nottingham urban area is the 6th largest in the UK.
Yeah, but have you heard of the 6th largest city in France?
Have you not watched the Wandering Turnip video? Go and watch it again.
I watched it, but you were on it, and I had to unsubscribe.
Well, you clearly weren't fucking listening, were you?
Yeah, but you also said some BS facts in there that I had to pull you up on.
You're making it up.
The dynamite thing. Everything else was accurate.
Apart from that.
That was, to be fair, Rob, I thought that was quite a good video.
Well, there you go.
I don't know. Like I keep repeating, I don't know why we're sort of going through the reasons. The reason is obvious. We're not as big a club as those clubs I've mentioned.
What's a bit annoying for us is the timing, because we're waiting for this Club World Cup to finish, and we're waiting for the Big Six to take their pick of who's about to move. But the problem is we're going to lose the opportunity to spend some of this season's PSR allowance, right? Because as far as I could see, we had some potential spending power, but we can't actually use that right now because of the two things I've just mentioned.
That's true. That is true.
Hey, I saw Chris Cohen eating at Annie's Burger Shack, so that did attract football players. So that's
there you go. Yeah, but Rob, again, you're misquoting the PSR rules. PSR rules are basically prorated almost daily. It doesn't really matter if we sign someone now or we sign them 1st of July.
So you're telling me that we don't get one allowance for this year and one for after 1st of July?
Get a 3-year rolling
thing.
So in that case, why did the Brennan Johnson sale? The timing of that? Why was that?
Because you still take your snapshot. The cut-off date, the start date is 1st of July to 2000 and whatever. 3 years from that. That's the snapshot, but it's prorated. Do you know what?
I've not heard money be an issue.
Of course,
I've not heard money be an issue anyway. I've not heard. We would like to have signed him, but we can't afford it. I've not heard that.
Well, let's move on and talk about some of these players, right? I want to start with I wish. Jordan Henderson. And just looking on the poll, have Forest got pull? 32% of you say yes, correct. 50% of you say no, and 18% of you say don't know. Stupid question, don't want to hear about it. So, interesting poll there. Shout out to Chris with the £2. He goes, no panic, Drogba 2 is in, and it's early days still. Yeah, that's Drogba 2.0.
That's who he compared him to. That is who he compared him to, Drogba.
I was never Drogba's biggest fan, but I hear what you're saying, Chris. I hear what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Because he scored, do you remember that stupid free kick Drogba scored against us? Was it in the League Cup or the FA Cup? I've never seen him take a free kick and he decides he was going to score that one. Idiot. But not you, Chris. Love you, Chris. Indeed. I got to talk about this Jordan Henderson one, man. My cards are on the table. I have no interest in this granddad. I would rather put Ant in midfield than him. I've never rated him as a player, even in his quote-unquote prime. Why? Firstly, what are your lot's opinion on it? Chat, get your opinions in as well. And why are we being linked to him?
Right, it's paper talk fueled by an agent, right? We've been lamenting the lack of number 6. So his agent is trying to get him a job at an English club. And he's thought, oh, maybe he would be a good fit for Forest. And he's gone and fueled some paper talk about it. There's no evidence that we've shown any interest. And I don't think that we have any. So I would avoid wasting too much time talking about that one. I mean, was it in the Sun?
Sun and the Mail.
Right, exactly. If I see Fabrizio Romano talking about it,
do you know how much stuff Fabrizio's getting wrong, man? Like seriously, that just goes.
Still listen to him more than the Sun. But I mean, the point is, we got our fingers burnt with Jesse Lingard. I think we've learned that lesson. You know, you don't get these guys, even though he's still in the England squad. I mean, why do we need Jordan Henderson when we've basically got Ryan Yates? You know, I mean, sorry, but I would play Yates over him.
I would play Arthur. I would play Arthur over him.
I think I disagree with you slightly, Wolfie. I think that Henderson was a fine player in his prime. He brought Yates plus, if you like, and he was a vital cog in that Liverpool team that won literally everything. So you can't damn a player that's been in a team that's won as much as he has. However, he's not played football for 2 years. And don't talk about Saudi Arabia. Don't talk about Holland. You know, he's not played football for 2 years, basically.
Well, he's playing for England, mate.
Yeah, that's not football.
Ben, what do you think of Henderson?
He's frozen.
I think he's crap. I think he's crap for England.
It just could you hear me? Could you hear me talking? I was going,
no,
we've gone all black.
Hold on. Wait, what are you not going about the hold on. Are you not going about Romano's tweet saying the 2 Juve players aren't playing? Is that the one you lot are talking about? Is that it? You want me to read that one out? Romano has tweeted, Mbangula and Weah not even on the bench for Juve tonight. Both are subject of club-to-club talks between Forest and Juventus. Is that the one? That doesn't excite me at all. I'm sorry, it's like, okay. They haven't been named in the squad.
The thing with this window, though, it's not exciting. Apart from Jesus, nothing's exciting me about this window. And when I see people on Twitter saying, imagine if we had the pairing of Yates and Jordan Henderson in midfield, I just think, you know what? I'll just go and support someone else. I just can't be asked anymore.
So let's remember that last season, Anderson and Milenkovic were both bought really quite late on in the window, weren't they? It was almost August, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So, you know, the day is young. There's still another month of this.
Don't say that, Rob, because I remember in January, people were saying exactly the same thing.
Oh, yeah. It could end in disappointment, but all I'm saying is that last year...
You've got to get these players in. There's no reason not to. You've got to get these players in. I don't understand football in this respect. Every transfer window is the same. Everything happens in the last week, often on the last day. And you think, I know that people are playing brinkmanship and all that sort of stuff, but for goodness sake, get things done. You know, it just gets tiresome.
You remember
I hate the transfer window. I find it so incredibly boring.
If we kind of learned this with Sangare, didn't we? Because like he was our number one target, but we were his sort of third or fourth choice, weren't we? So we had to wait for him to not go to about 3 or 4 other clubs, and then we went and unveiled him at midnight. So that's unfortunately how it's going to be, especially with our.
Well, yeah, but Rob, if that's how it's going to be, and we unveil a star player, okay, I can accept that. But if you get to midnight and nothing happens,
that was January.
Then you feel you've been fooled. You've wasted your time.
Wait, was Sangare a January? No, he was a summer one, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the summer one, but he was the last minute of the transfer window where it was like the here we go didn't even come until about 12:30, if you remember.
Well, mate, we did the here we go.
Yeah,
we had Dino on the pitch.
We were live.
This is a translation.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I get what you're saying, Anne, about why does it always have to be in the last minute? Like, I like it when you do your business nice and early, so that the players are on the preseason tour, so they're gelling with the team, so they're getting used to the tactics and everything like that. I think this Club World Cup, I think you said it, Ben, Club World Cup is kind of hindering transfers happening right now because there was that little flurry before it started, and now it's kind of just everyone's just waiting to the teams get knocked out.
They get a ton of money for it.
That's a comment. I can't speak for the rest of the guys.
That one.
Not that one. I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but yeah, I'm not panicking. I'm just like accepting that it's quite possible nothing could happen. It's not panic, I don't wake up every day shaking and shivering, thinking, "Oh my God, we're not going to sign anybody." But so far, the players we've been linked with, most of them aren't worth signing anyway. Although, to be fair, I've kind of come to the conclusion that we're building a squad. These aren't intended to go straight into the first team, because apart from Jesus, I don't see any others necessarily improving the side that we've been linked with.
Well, let's talk about the two from
they
Juve.
may improve the squad.
Let's talk about the two from Juve. I mean, they're so boring to talk about, especially the Weah one. But it is what it is, guys. If you're bored as well, please hit that like button. Don't forget, give it a quick like. Make sure you're subscribed. I want to start with Timothy Weah, because there's a lot of conflicting reports on what's going on with Weah, right? So the general narrative is that he wants to stay at Juve, impress Tudor in the Club World Cup, and he wants to play Champions League. And there's also the narrative that if he is to leave, he wants to go from 2 million a year to 4 million a year, which is about 40k versus 80k.
Well, there's another point. He's waiting to see whether we sell Elanga, because if we sell Elanga, he's going to get a lot more game time. So that's his position. He hasn't said that, but he knows that we are the Elanga is the subject of 2 bids now by Newcastle.
Breaking news.
Yeah, that's tonight, isn't it? Is that going
That was quick. That was quick. Well, it should be. It's all been done before.
Okay, so breaking news. It's come out from Rushcliffe. Our planning committee has resolved to approve Forest's city ground plans. Leader of the council, Neil Clark, Rob's mate. Forest plays such an important role in the community. We are proud they call Rushcliffe home. It's heartening we can support them with their aspirations. Breaking news. So
it's not surprising, is it? To be honest, it was expected on this occasion.
Well, maybe
the beauty about Timothy Weah. Go on, Rob.
We're going to do a quick segment on that, or we're just going to ignore it?
No. I mean, look. So that's good news, right? If we now make an announcement about we're expanding the ground to 40,000 at the end of the season, that plays all right. Well, yeah, it's a 2-phase thing, right? But anyway, that may play a part in terms of pulling power, right? Because at the minute. Well, leaving aside Brentford and Bournemouth, we have actually got one of the smallest stadiums in the Premier League. So I know it's difficult to admit, but we've not spent anything on our stadium for about 30 years. So
Was the last upgrade the Trent end when they shut
Yeah.
it down? That had been
no,
the
we
last.
filled in the corners. We filled in the corners in about 1998, and that is fact, right? So
No, we've got them pretty new things around the ground. They're new.
Oh, the what they call the
Shipping
decals or whatever they are.
So
Yeah.
look,
Vinyls. What are
where,
they
where
called?
we doing Timothy Weah,
Final
right? So
details.
all I would say about Weah, right, is remember this is not like this is like when we're trying to sign a striker. It was very difficult to find someone who was better than Chris Wood. All I was saying is you need to sign someone that's better than Taiwo, right? Now, is Weah a step up from Jota
He's a winger,
Silva?
isn't he?
Quite
He's a
possibly.
winger, isn't he?
Yeah, but he
Yeah, and a right
Yeah.
wing back.
Yeah, but so the thing about Weah is, let's look on the bright side. He is a full international, and he has had 2 full seasons in Serie A, which is 2 things that Jota Silva can't say, right? So he
But
might
Rob, I
be
don't like your standards. If I'm being
No.
honest with you.
right. So if we were selling Elanga and he was the replacement, I would be extremely concerned, right? If we keep Elanga and he's the backup, we have upgraded our backup from Jota Silva. That doesn't mean I'm fully excited by the signing, but I was hoping that we were going to sign 4 or 5 players this summer. And if he's one of them, and that's part of improving the depth of the squad, I don't mind it.
My thoughts on
Yeah,
Weah
go.
is, in a way, it's nice that we're linked with him, because if
Fair
we were
enough.
linked with Yilmaz, I'd be like dead excited, and I'd be looking every day. And if we didn't sign him, I'd be disappointed. With Weah, I couldn't give a toss.
Wow.
I think he's
That
pretty
really will get him
average.
interested now.
Yeah, but I
Yeah, but
someone did say,
I don't give a toss. I don't think he's going to improve our first team.
He scored 5 goals in Serie A last season. Only 2 assists, apparently.
Out
Though,
of
so
how
that-
many games?
30.
That's a crap return, though.
I don't know. It's about what Morgan Gibbs White gets, isn't it?
Firing shots at MGW, I get it. I see how it is.
but like, okay, look, the other kid, Samuel Bangula, I like him as a prospect kid. He's got some good traits, good attributes. He's a lot younger. I think he's 21, is he, off the top of my head?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, on the left side, I think we do need some challenger, because clearly Sosa isn't liked for whatever reason by what's his face, Nuno. So that one I get, but I'm still looking at it thinking, are these actually going to challenge the first team?
No,
Because that's how I look at a transfer window. Are we getting people that are going to either push for a place in the first team or be better than what we've got, or are we just bulking out?
That's exactly what I was going to
point.
say.
Yeah.
Because Rob has just stated that he doesn't care about getting someone better than Chris Wood. He cares about getting someone better than Taiwo. That's not progression.
No,
Chris
it
Wood
is.
might.
No, it
Wood
is.
might not.
Right,
Chris Wood-
I want immediate right to reply to that. I want
Chris,
immediate
look,
right.
hang on a
Before
second, let
you
me finish.
create a straw man, I want
Chris-
immediate right of reply to that, right? The problem
I don't
is...
give way. I don't give way.
Well,
Order.
I would say
Order.
Anyway, the point is that if there's a massive gap between your number 1 choice and your number 2 choice, you're going to play your number 1 choice at 60%
I've
fitness.
called raising the floor
That's
rather
what we
than
did
raising
with
the
Wood
ceiling.
and Hudson-Odoi, right? So what you want to do is, if you close the quality gap between your first and your second choice, you're not forced to play on your first choice through injuries, as we were in the final third of the
No,
season.
because what you want is not someone to be a backup to Wood, but a challenger to Wood. We've seen it time and time again. There is certain matches where Wood is not involved. Yes, he's had a brilliant season. Yes, he's been good for us. But unless Elanga is crossing that ball to his feet, he's not getting involved in the matches. We need a different type of striker to come in and challenge Chris Wood. And let's be honest, we have no idea if Chris Wood is going to have the season like he did this year. He's a year older. He's what, 34, 35. He's going to lose half a yard on his pace. If we lose Elanga, I tell you now, Chris Wood will not score many goals if we lose Elanga, because most of his goals are from Elanga's involvement.
I don't actually think that it's a case of him losing a yard of pace. He hasn't got any pace. I don't think it's a case of losing pace or getting older. I just think it's unlikely he's ever going to have a season where everything he hits goes in again.
But even so, even if he did, we still
didn't he have one of the highest conversion rates in Europe?
Yeah, he's great. I'm not complaining
No,
about
but
it.
that's not going to happen again, is it? It's
No,
it's
no,
unlikely to.
If we just have like, a backup,
agreeing
a
with
bench
you, mate.
player to Chris Wood,
I'm
that's
agreeing
not
with
where I want this Forest team to go. We should be progressing. We shouldn't be going backwards. Like we've done well this season, but for me, progress to the next step. You don't risk going backwards. Progressing to the next step means getting better players. There's always better players. Chris Wood is good. There's always better players. There'll be better players than the players we bring in. There's always someone better. You can't take this like view of, we'll get someone to come in as second fiddle. We need to improve. You can
but did you not
always
watch the
improve.
first half hour of this where we were talking about we don't have the pulling power and we have to wait till the big six leave leftovers for us. So that's so you.
Yeah, but
you,
that's
saying
where
that
that's where your recruitment team comes in.
We've
That's
just
where your
spent half an hour explaining why
recruitment.
that isn't happening.
Yeah, but you
That's
need to
where your recruitment
incentivize
team
people
comes in, Rob.
financially, and they will come. They will come. Forest is a massive club, but I think missing out on Champions League is because what we effectively want is a Champions League type player, but we don't have Champions League.
I don't think it'd make it. If we even if we're Champions League, a Champions League like type player is likely to go to one of the other Champions League teams.
But it would make a bit of a difference.
I think people are obsessed with Champions League, absolutely obsessed. My God, have you seen some of the shit that plays in the Champions League?
You seen the
Yeah,
shit?
but
that
a lot
plays-
of-
You're going to play for
players
you're going
say-
to play for some Norwegian club because they're in the Champions League.
Yeah, but a lot of players say
Yeah,
they
but
want to
that.
play in the Champions League.
Yeah, I know. That's how they piss off other clubs like us. It's easy for them to say, "Oh, I want Champions League. I would have come, but I want Champions League." Yeah. Honestly, it's a fella. The top players have to be in the Champions League with top clubs. But like I say, you can go to Norway and join the club there, whoever won their league, right? And join. If you want to play in the Champions League, if you're Cristiano Ronaldo in his prime, and he wants to play Champions League, he can go to Norway and play.
Yeah, but we've already had this discussion. The weather's crap in Norway. It's worse than the UK. He's not going to go there.
Yeah, but look, I gotta challenge Rob on what you said about you don't have to get someone better than Wood. You just have to get someone better than Taiwo.
Yeah, that's rubbish.
Right.
That is.
That's not
Because-
correct.
Not what
That's
I
going
said.
backwards.
Hold on. Because if you got some, let's just say Calvert-Lewin, right? Just as a random example.
Mm.
Would you say he's better than Taiwo?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he good enough to challenge Chris Wood?
No.
So what's changed?
If Chris Wood's injured, you've got a better replacement.
But then
I
Chris
agree
Wood's-
with what Rob's saying in that respect, but you also need to improve your first team, not just your second
Yeah,
team.
but we're going to hopefully be making 4 or 5 signings this summer. Not all of them have to be a new
Hopefully.
first choice player, right?
Yeah, but we're making hardly any at the moment.
But remember, the analysis that we did showed that the same 11 players had played like 80% of the minutes, and so actually the main challenge for this transfer window was keeping that 11 intact. Now, if you manage at the end of the summer to buy 1 or 2 that are improvements on that, then hopefully you can finish higher next season.
Yeah, but by the end of the
But
season,
look,
they're all knackered.
our main problem was actually not our first 11, but the lack of depth that we had in the squad, which is why we were playing Zach Abbott in an FA Cup semi-final, right?
Rob,
So that's what I'm saying. You can fix the lack of depth at the same time.
Logically speaking, though, say you've got Elanga at right, he's our number 1 right winger, yeah? If you buy a better player, I know it's not likely to happen, but if you get a better right winger than Elanga, then you've improved your squad because Elanga then becomes your backup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elanga would be great.
Just buy the backup.
True, but at Sci-Fi Monkey, put that comment up. That's very good. You have to have a better 60th minute sub. Absolutely. How many times did we lament the lack of plan B? Right?
That's what Andrew said. That's basically what he just said.
but
By
you could
improving
really
your
Ant's
Elanga
argument
on your
becomes
60
stronger.
minute sub.
Yeah.
by
Ant's
improving
argument
your
becomes
team,
stronger.
you so and also that will improve the conference team. Because you'll
Okay,
still have
but
like
here's an example. Do we need to
Are we
sign?
really in that?
Do we
keep
need to
forgetting.
sign
Find out tomorrow.
another goalkeeper?
Kind
Yeah.
of.
I don't care
Yeah.
about goalkeepers. I want a goal
No,
scorer.
but what happens if Sells gets injured? We've got Carlos Miguel. Are we happy with that? Probably
You
not.
are.
You wanted him to replace him.
Do we need to sign another goalkeeper?
We
Yes.
got Wayne Hennessy.
How likely are we going to get someone that's better than Sells? Very unlikely.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
but
not,
goalkeepers are
our
different.
focus, is it? That's not our focus. Our focus is a striker at the moment. The
That's a
goal
straw man.
dried up at the end of the season. We need midfielders. We need wingers.
Oh,
we need
everybody's-
attacking players. The goalkeeper's not our problem. We're not conceding tons of goals. We're just not scoring many goals.
No, he's right, Rob. I'll tell you why. Because the goalkeeper argument is a straw man argument. Because most teams will buy a number one and a designated backup who knows he's a backup, who's unlikely to do anything outside of cup competitions unless there's injuries, right? And then if you get stuck with the goalkeeper, you do what we end up doing when Henderson got injured and we just loaned Navas in the January window. That you can't use the goalkeeper to make a point about the outfield players because the goalkeeper position is separate to the outfield players,
Right,
because
so-
of how it's generally set up.
Very,
So
very
are
different,
the three
isn't
of
it?
you saying that we are not allowed to sign any player unless they are better than our first choice?
That's
in the
not
list?
what we're saying.
It sounds like it.
No, that's disingenuous, that is, Rob. You're
Right, well, what
putting
are you
words into
saying
their
then?
mouth. You're deliberately twisting the argument. What we're saying is, to improve the team, to improve the performance, we need to improve the team. I agree with you. We also need backups, but we need the backups to be as good as the first team. Or I referred to my point earlier. If you brought Yilmaz in, and Yilmaz was absolutely brilliant, and he substituted Elanga would then be our backup. That improves your team, your squad, and your team. If you're just buying in somebody that's better than the backup you've already got, I agree with you. Yes, you should do that 100%, because it's better to bring on a better backup, but it's not challenging your first team. So if your player does get injured, say Elanga I don't know why I keep picking on him, but say Elanga does get injured, if that backup's not good enough, your team is in serious trouble.
And also, I would go a step further and say, depending on the position, is dependent on the gap you need between the first choice and the backup. So, for example, as centre backs, you would want your first two, like we have with Milenkovic and Murillo. Then you want a third who is close in case of injury. And then you want one or two where the gap can be big because you're potentially not going to have to fall down on them unless, shit really hits the fan. But with wingers and midfielders, where the probability of injuries potentially could be higher, then you're going to need some rotation there. Like you saw Callum Hudson and Doy start to break down at the end of the season. Did we really have a strong enough left replacement?
I'll give you an example, right? Let's say you bring in Douglas Luiz, and let's say for the sake of it, he plays number 6, and so does Sangare. That is, you've got to make a choice who's better.
Yeah.
And they may rotate because one may be better, then the other one may be better. They're challenging each other. That is completely different from having Sangare and a Ryan Yates. It's completely different. You're having someone who can actually challenge, who can come off the bench and perform at the same level. I don't see what's wrong with that.
All clubs aim for 2 brilliant players in each position, don't they, Ben?
Exactly. That is progression. Look at Liverpool. Look who Liverpool can bring on as subs. Like, that is how you progress. You can't have this starting 11 who are pretty decent and then all these crappers on the bench. You're never going to do anything.
And the point you just made there about Sangare and Douglas Luiz, let's pretend they're both coming in as 6s, right? That then gives you options against a Man City or an Arsenal or whatever, that if you wanted to play 2 strongly defensive-minded players, you could then change from midfield 2 to a midfield 3, put them 2 in with Anderson. There's a solid midfield 3, for example. If you want to change the shape, it gives you options. At the moment, this whole season, that midfield was never sorted. You saw Ryan Yates have a spell of 3 or 4 games. Then you saw Dominguez coming in for 3 or 4 games. You saw Sangare coming in towards the end. You never really built solid partnerships there, because sometimes Ryan Yates would have a purple patch match and then he'd go off the boil. Same with Dominguez, same with Sangare, etc. Because their levels were pretty much the same across the season. You haven't got that elitist one. If you then go and bring a Douglas Luiz in, as the example we're just using, automatically he's better than Yates. He's better than Dominguez. Most will say he's better than Sangare. You've just pushed that up, and now you've created 3 decent backups just by signing Douglas Luiz, who can be used, who you've seen used and have decent matches in the Premier League. That's the point we're making, Rob.
It's all about transition.
When did I say don't sign Douglas Luiz?
No, I'm not saying that. When you're talking about sign underneath them, what I'm saying is sign above them.
My position
them or
is
level.
just
If you can, yeah.
If we're buying someone that's in between our number 1 and number 2 choice in a current position,
right.
we're still improving the depth of the squad, which was.
You're right, Rob. You're right.
Yeah, but we weren't discussing
we need to improve the team as well as improving the
But
squad.
not every signing is going to be better than number
of course
1.
not.
Yeah.
No, of course not.
Yeah, but Rob,
I think we actually agree.
Hang on a second. We weren't discussing the depth of the squad. This conversation started because you said we just need to get someone better than Taiwo. That is not about the depth of the squad.
I understand. Yeah, I understand what Rob's saying.
Yeah, crypto's not.
Again, I go back to
what
the
you're
old saying,
but that's not what you said.
You need
to
to raise the ceiling and you need to raise the floor as
now
well.
Now you're just gaslighting us to try and win your argument. Classic.
But can we acknowledge that some good news about this sort of transfer period is that we've managed to hold on to everybody that we wanted to so far, even Danilo.
Just before we acknowledge that, let's just catch up on the super chats. Chris with another £2. He says M is filling the squad in with value before striking big. I hope so, Chris, man. I hope so. Yeah. But again, I've just been taking the piss out of the Arsenal fans for signing what's his face? Norgard VPN. Yeah,
he's a good player. Norgard
when they still need a striker. So I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Poison Soup with a £10. Thanks so much, bro. Goes, I don't see how we can rely on Wood to perform like he did last season. It's highly unlikely. He had the season of his life. We need to be looking for a striker who can hit 20 or more goals a season. I couldn't agree with you more. And I do think Jesus can be that striker. But there's still risks with it. He may need 6 months to adapt. He may flop. He may be whatever. You know what I mean? There's still some element of risk. That's why we've been able to get him at a good price. And he looks like he could be the part. So, and I said this on Potts' stream earlier on. Cal said to me, right, you got Jesus in. Are you dropping him for Wood? I was like, just give me 6 more months out of Wood. And he's like, that's harsh. He scored you 20 goals, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, you have to move on. Footballers are humans. They get older. And as we get older, as Ant will know, it starts to break down
I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's just that he could have had this one season wonder, you know, at 20, 25, 30, 35. You know what I mean? I think he just had because everything he hit went in, and that's not likely to continue. Now, if he does, happy days. But you know, it's not likely.
Yeah. By the way, there's 17% of you in the chat that would take Henderson. Just
I can understand
why
people think that, because they think of him in his prime when he was running about at Liverpool, winning trophy after trophy after trophy. He was the captain. He was the talisman. You know, I can understand, but I'm afraid those days, in my opinion, those days are over. Well over. You know,
we've got about 400 in here, and we're sitting on 123 likes. Let's get it up to 150. Please make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed as well. Shout out to the beautiful Will. Get him with Psycho there. 34 months. Big up to you, man. Name and shame them. I can't see it. It's anonymous. They're all anonymous. They're all anonymous. But as always, you guys are always entitled to your opinion here. Okay. So back to the Juve boys, right? So it looks like Weah is about to collapse potentially if Romano can make his mind up. Now, Forest, there's been reports that Forest are diverting across to the AC Milan winger in Musa. And I think he's an absolute scrub. And he's probably going to cost us about £20 million. But this is the next link. Now, I haven't verified the story yet and everything else, so I don't know how true it is. I don't know if you guys have seen anything yet. But is this the right move for Forest?
Sorry, who did you say?
Yeah, I didn't hear him either. I was waiting for you lot.
Yunus Musa.
Who the hell is he?
Is he like Niakati's brother or something? Never heard of him.
What's he like on FIFA, Crypto?
He's fucking wank. Do you know what? It really pisses me off. It really pisses me off because I never have I been able to play a Forest player in my career mode team because they're so shit on FIFA. It pisses me off. I'm not even joking. It fucking does my head in.
I don't like you either.
All I want is
the only one that's not sworn
to. I feel 90 rated on FIFA.
I'm telling you, he's a scrub, man. He's an absolute scrub. He's quite skillful, but in slow motion.
That's a
It's
good
like-
point.
Yeah, look, we signed Origi. Yeah, and Pat, how did that work out?
No, from AC Milan, wasn't it?
I tell you what, Origi's not bad on FIFA.
It's 7 years ago.
Well, you've just absolutely destroyed any credibility that FIFA's got, then, haven't you?
But yeah, so look, I'm not sold on Eunice either, man. And like this is where I'm starting to get worried. We'll talk about Elanga in a second, but he's not it for me either. He actually makes Weah look more appealing to me, if I'm being honest with you. I don't know if Forest are doing this just to scare me into submission with Weah. But I just don't like the names being linked. Where's the Yilmaz link gone? That's gone so quiet. Like
Where's the Eze link gone?
Eze, well, let's see. Let's see what happens there. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
We ain't getting Eze, in my opinion.
I never said we're getting Eze. I said we're linked
But
to
you
Eze.
did.
I
You
don't
did.
know. Well, no, I said that to D to piss him off.
Did I say I was having a go at you? I just
He
passed
is.
my opinion.
He is.
You
Or is
promised.
he?
You promised us, Eze.
I did not promise
Yeah.
you. I
I
promised you
remember
that
that.
Eco had.
I'm
Crypto
backing Rob here.
remembers
I'm
it.
backing Rob.
Yeah.
All right, show me the clip. Anyway,
I'll find it.
Jeff, there's no way Eze goes to Spurs. Like,
With AI being as it is, we'll show you the clip, don't worry.
mate, honestly, Eze has more class than to go to Spurs. Seriously. And what was I saying? Yeah, so what were we talking about? Musa.
Well,
Yunus
that
Musa.
Eunice, what's his face?
Yeah, Musa.
Yeah.
Bro, like
Never
these
heard of
names.
him. Sounds rubbish.
Do you know how depressing it is at the moment to do transfer videos?
Yeah, I never heard of half these guys. Like,
It's so depressing, man. It's like, because I think what it is for me is, in general, the expectation has risen. Even with shitty conference, the expectation is you're a European club now. There should be some form of pool with some players.
even if you don't go on expectation, because everyone has a different opinion on
And
expectation,
don't show your goddamn
and it's going to
passport
get
and
hacked.
that
No,
one.
I say, most people are embarrassed by their passport photo. Mine's, I mean, it's taking
You've just had your personal details stolen.
Mine's stunning.
Anyway, everyone's like expectations is kind of their own opinion. The one thing I think we should have is ambition. We should have more ambition to go on and progress.
You know what I was thinking this morning? I thought, we sort of get rather down in the dumps by the fact we're not being cheeky bugger, but not being linked to all these sort of star players that we'd like to see come to the club. I thought, I wonder how many phone calls and discussions are made with players' agents that we never know about. You know what I mean? So we are, I wonder if we do go for these players that are really, the kind of players we would want. But we never hear about it because the agent just says, no, mate.
Well,
Yeah,
that's going to be, that's
It must
the
happen.
Eucharist. Oh, because
That'd
it
be
happened with
every- that'd be
Eucharist
every club,
and
though.
with Vete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like these
But,
things
but we've heard about those two, obviously, but there must be loads that we don't hear about.
no, of course there is, probably on a daily basis. But
Yeah.
I'm not even saying go get Gyökeres, man. I'm saying go get someone who I don't have to sit there explaining
No,
to
really
people,
standing
knowing
with the
that 80% of the people watching the video have probably never heard of the name. And you gotta like proper break down the thing. Like if we're linked, even with Henderson, being linked with Henderson is a bit easier to describe. Like most people have heard of
To
him.
be fair, though, you could argue who had heard of Murillo and Milenkovic and etc.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Milenkovic. I know about Milenkovic.
Yeah, but Ben, you can't keep unearthing them year in, year out. That's the thing with it.
You can.
Why not?
You can.
Because history says it's not feasible.
But we've not written this history yet. So the new history, Mr. Marinakis said so. Don't you remember?
Well, that's called the future.
Straight to new history.
If you played with the scouting mode turned on FIFA, you'd know that you can do
I
that.
fucking know your FIFA, man.
I think we ought to ban anybody from speaking about FIFA. And if they do, we rip their nuts off.
I think Crypto should make a FIFA channel.
I did.
Yeah.
I did, and then I gave up.
Yeah, because no one watched it,
I
mate.
gave up
Why
after
did
one
everybody
video.
switch over to watch Carl play Call of Duty?
I realised it was worse than Carlos's video, and I thought, forget this. Man. I'm going out on the
I would watch
motorbike.
me playing FIFA over that. if that's any encouragement.
Oh, Carlos is actually live. Let's have a look.
The thing is, the problem with Carlos is he's absolutely shit at COD.
Oh, don't say that to him. Don't say that to him.
When I went over and watched it, for about 10 minutes, I was like, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I thought, what am I doing? I'm getting drawn into this. Even though he was running about with his mate, there was no opposition, there was no foes at all. They were just running up and down looking for people to shoot.
He's probably playing the casual mode against the computer AI bots.
We'll send this lot to him afterwards. Anyway, all right, I want to talk about Elanga. Because I did have a bit of go at the Geordies today. I'm not going to lie. Because we were talking about Isak over on Potts' channel, and they were like crying about how Liverpool have tried to already sign him, put him in a red shirt and everything. And I said to them, are you not doing the same thing with Elanga? Are you not tracking some random planes coming out of, East Midlands? Are you not, oh, look, he's liked Isak's post. Oh, he's wearing Semenyo's Bournemouth shirt. That must mean he's coming and all this crap. Does anyone on this panel think Elanga is leaving Forest?
No.
Go on, Rob.
No. Well, look, he's under contract, and there's no amount of money that they're going to be willing to offer us that would get us to agree to sell him, because you've seen the difficulty that we're having in even signing a backup for him. So it would be a clear step backwards in the team. So there's nothing for us to gain by selling him, because even if we got 100 million for him, we'd struggle to spend that money. So therefore, even if the player himself wanted to go, which he clearly doesn't, I mean, if you've ever seen interviews with Elanga, he's perfectly happy to be at Forest. That his boyhood club was Man United, and that's who he, that's where his heart is. But Forest have given him his big chance, and he's perfectly happy here with his, with his friends. With his friends, Einar and Hudson-Odoi.
But according to the Geordies, Rob, his friends are the likes of Isak and what's that other kid's name? I keep forgetting his name. It was Sula or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, that's about as convincing as Milenkovic has persuaded Vlahovic to come. Isak has persuaded Elanga to come. I don't think that having a Swede in your team makes you any more likely to sign him.
I've got to say, the one thing I don't really understand from a few of the Forest fans is when they say, like, I'd sell him for 60 million, but not 50 million. We're not getting the money. Why does it matter to Forest fans how much someone pays for him? We're not seeing that 60 million. Like, whether they sell him for 50 or 100 million, it's not going to affect us. Yes, they could reinvest it, but what difference does it make to us?
Yeah. So 20%, right? So that's imagine
of the profit, I believe.
Well, that's why
no one really knows, but that's usually what Man U do in their deals.
Yeah, well, that's why people don't sell their house, because the capital gains tax they'd have to pay on it. We'd have to pay Manchester United tax.
On that, Rob. Don't start on that.
Isn't that on a house above 2 million or something?
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that only above houses above 2 million or something?
No.
Most people don't have to worry about that.
No. You pay capital gains tax on anything.
Yeah, and you also pay on farmland.
I'm not paying any. I'm not paying any.
Tonight you've shared your passport and your tax affairs on live YouTube.
And getting hacked.
Put your medical records up as well, Anne. Go on, just go for the hat trick.
Yeah, exactly, man. Just put your address up as well. Okay, it'll fully doxed you online.
I'll tell you what, that's not been a biometric passport.
Confidence and faith in our viewership. They're all lovely people.
There's a few Geordies in here, though. There's a few Geordies.
Oh, no!
Hey, Geordies in the chat, say YI or whatever you lot say up there, man. So you lot are all convinced Elanga isn't gonna go, right?
As Rob says, there's absolutely no point. Mr. Marinakis, it's not stupid. And like Rob says, if we sold him for 70,000, what we're gonna do with that 70,000? 70 million, I mean.
70,000. Bloody hell.
What we're going to do with it? Who we're going to buy with that 70 million? Nobody wants to come to us.
Well, actually, can I bring this up? Jeff and Ryan, I can't remember who put it in the comments yesterday. It was one of the best comments I ever saw, right? They said, why not sell Elanga to Olympiacos at a really cheap price, right? So Man U get 0 to none of the thing and then
Oh,
buying
yeah.
back the next day, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was genius, even though technically you can't do that
No,
in terms of
Why
the
not?
selling in between. I don't. There's rules in the Premier League between selling between sister clubs. within
There's
the
also
multi-club
this fair
clubs.
price thing they're going on about as well, isn't
there's
there?
that
Now, because
bollocks
of
as well.
PSR. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's also rules about Crystal Palace not being in Europa, but they seem to be getting away with that. So,
Well, we find out on that tomorrow. Find out on that tomorrow. That segues us to that now. So the decision, for those of you who don't know, the announcement's coming out tomorrow on whether Crystal Palace will be in the Europa League or kicked out completely, or maybe even the conference. Textor has sold his shares in Palace for, shock horror that he was able to sell them so quickly after wanting to sell them for 2 years when he claimed he was selling them at a cut price. That technically has no bearing on the outcome, because the bottom line is, as of the 1st of March, he
They've
was
already
still
committed the
named.
offence.
Yeah, so technically speaking, the offence still stands. I saw Rich was in the chat earlier. He's probably hiding now. We're talking about this one. But in your guys' opinion, and you lot in the chat as well, what do you think the outcome should be, but what do you think it will be? Kick us off, Crypto, with it.
I mean, the fact that, look, I've seen a lot of Crystal Palace fans saying, "Oh, Marinakis shouldn't be getting involved. He shouldn't be sending letters and stuff." But we did it by the rules. We followed the rules. They didn't follow the rules. And then I see Forest fans saying, "Oh, I feel bad for the Palace fans." Fuck the Palace fans. Forest should be in Europa. We followed the rules. I don't give a shit what the Palace fans say. We followed the rules and you didn't. So therefore, we should be in Europa. You should be demoted to the Conference League. I don't care if your owner sold his share for 200 million. It's too late. It's past the deadline. They can't just make you can't have one rule for one club and one rule for another. Like, it doesn't work that way. We followed the rules. Marinakis did what he needed to do to make sure that the club was under different ownership. So why should we not appeal? Why should we not? It's not just for the fans.
Sorry, Ben. But from what I understand,
people are saying, "Oh, what about the Palace fans? What about the Forest fans?"
From what I understand,
we're the
Ben,
fucking fans as well. We should have
Ben,
Forest in Europa. Why are
from what
Forest
I
fans crying
understand,
about Palace fans?
the letter was not saying we think you should kick Palace out.
Exactly.
It was, can you clarify the situation, because we need to make arrangements.
Yeah, but you know what?
We need our club to be able to know where we are.
Yeah, but and it gets spun on Twitter.
Reasonable.
Everything gets spun out, misinformation. These Palace fans are like the Keir Starmer of Twitter. It all just blows up into something completely different, and it's unacceptable. And I don't know why the Forest fans care about Palace fans more than us, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't see Palace fans chucking themselves off Trent Bridge.
Here's another point, right?
The Forest got 4 points deducted because we broke the rules.
Exactly.
Right, so,
it's just because it's good for them. When it's good for them, it's good for them.
Yeah,
but when they break the rules, it's still got to be good.
If they'd have been in a relegation fight with us and we'd have got that 4 points deduction, which took us down, if we finished 2 points above them, but then we got the 4, do you think they'd be crying for us?
Exactly.
So here's another point. Here's another point. Crystal Palace got into the Europa League by winning the FA Cup. Would they have been able to do that without the significant amount of money that John Textor had invested in that club?
Exactly.
Yeah. And not
why has
only
nobody
that,
made that point yet?
I'm sure they have.
You're absolutely right, Rob. But not only that, the FA Cup winners shouldn't be going into the Europa Cup either.
Oh, no, not that again. I know.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Don't restart that. You're right. Don't restart.
We called the Europa League, not the Europa Cup. Anyway.
Yeah, we put out a tweet.
From my perspective, I think that we should be going into the Europa League. Surprise, surprise. But I have no reason to say this apart from just I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to get a warning, or I'm
sorry, but when we break the rules with PSR,
UEFA have got no excuse to not get rid of Palace out of the Europa League. They've got no excuse. They broke the rules. That's it.
Yeah. Well, when we break the rules with PSR, we get punished. When we break the rules by tweeting that that stupid Twatwell guy is a Luton fan, which is not even an opinion, it's a damn hard fact. we get fined for it. So why should Palace get away with this? The only reason he's selling it is because he's been caught out. He wouldn't have been.
The other thing, Ben, you mentioned about what about Forest fans? I absolutely totally agree. Palace won the FA Cup last season. They've had their moment in the sun. They've had their glory time. We fought tooth and nail over 38 games and got fuck all.
And I tell you what,
we deserve to be. So why should I feel sorry for their fans?
I tell you what as well.
That's what European qualification for an FA Cup. Europa qualification for the FA Cup.
Even if you take the fans out of it, the Europa League monetary value to Marinakis is way, way, way more than the Conference League. So he should have every right, if someone's broken the league, to go in there and appeal, because it's money in his pocket. It's money that can be reinvested into the club. It's money that can be reinvested into Forest players, reinvested into the ground. So why these Forest fans? Oh, I feel sorry for Palace. I feel sorry for Rich.
They're going to get a pathetic
I don't feel sorry for anyone but Rich.
They're going to get a pathetic fine.
No, they won't fine them. They won't fine them. They will keep them in theory, right? But let me ask you guys this, and let me ask the chat this. If it was the other way round, do you think we would get kicked out?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there's an agenda against Forest.
Yet another Marinakis hit piece in the paper, wouldn't it?
Yes or no, chat? Why aren't in the chat? The roles are reversed?
I think that the media's attitude would be totally different.
We would definitely get kicked out. They would find a way to kick us out. And I tell you what, I'd be sat here.
Hold on. Why do you think that UEFA have got a grudge against Forest?
Because everyone hates Forest. Everyone hates us. It's all these. Look, there's a lot of high-level rich people who hang around in close circles, and they all hate Nottingham Forest. And I'll tell you what, to be fair to the Palace fans, if this was the other way around, and I was a Palace fan, I'd be saying, fuck Nottingham Forest. We deserve to be in the Europa.
Tommy, what do you know? That's twice you put that message. What do you know?
What was Tommy put? Palace will be kicked out. I'm not going to trust Tommy, man. Love you, Tommy. But yeah. I don't know. Look, I don't mind that if Forest fans wants to do the cucking as is saying it, right? But it's the case of my stance is this. Palace earned their position in the Europa League, but if they've broken the rules, they've broken the rules.
No,
exactly.
That's the bottom line.
They got through 5 rounds of the FA Cup.
It doesn't matter if you think it's valid or not. That was the rule at the start of the season. Like it or lump it, yeah. That was it. So, but the rules are broken. You didn't see them say to us when we got the points deduction, you know what? You just missed on Brennan Johnson. We knew you did want to sell him. In the spirit of the game, we'll let it go.
That's a very similar. That's a very good point. That's a very similar situation.
Exactly.
That's the point I made about the PSR.
Yeah, we missed the deadline by a couple of
we feel sorry for you.
The deadline of the
it's
first.
Not how it
That's
works.
been my position. Give us the 4 points back, and I'll feel a lot more magnanimous.
Forget about the 4 points. We don't need them back.
No, we do. We'd be in Champions League if we had the 4 points.
Last season.
We should have a get out of jail free. We could have cashed in those 4 points and finished third last season.
Yeah, it's
4 points, and we lost to Everton and drew with Leicester.
Exactly.
You know what? Give us half the points when we're in Champions League. How about that?
Or just give us Eze. Just give us Eze.
So look, we'll find out tomorrow evening. Is what everyone's saying now on it. Palace deserve it, you bunch of thieves, says Lethal Sage 1. I mean, I don't even know what to do.
I didn't even
with
see that comment.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say with that comment. It's like Crypto thinks we're elite.
We're an elite club. Marinakis is an elite person. And he has a lot of enemies.
Of course we are. We're a Premier League club. Of course we're an elite club. That goes without saying.
Well, according to you, we have no pull on.
Yeah, no.
You're
I'm
just
just
as
saying
bad as the
that.
Palace fans,
We
to be
don't
honest,
have the pull that those famous current top six.
You said earlier we're not a big club. I'm disgusted with you.
No. I'm only doing it in comparison with other clubs. We're a massive club. You compare with Newport County. We are huge.
You put county, man.
It just
Why
came to
are you
mind.
firing shots at Newport?
But you know, it's all relative, isn't it? We are a huge elite club. No, but actually, Brentford are an elite club.
No,
a
they're
Premier
not.
League club. No, but
No,
they
they're not.
are. If you
Brentford are
compare
going
them
down.
to Scunthorpe United or Doncaster Rovers, they're up there.
Please always use Scunthorpe as the example because that's Nick's hometown. So.
Oh, it's Nick that put in Scunthorpe.
Apparently, let Rob speak. Rob, what are you saying?
Rob,
that was
speak.
it.
What did you want him
Well,
to
I'm
say?
not
Owen?
Greta Thunberg. I can interrupt.
So, does anyone here feel it goes Forest way tomorrow?
No,
No way. No way.
no, these
They'll
things.
get away with it.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine it. I honestly can't imagine it.
They will get away with it, and all
It would be
the
fabulous
wokies on Twitter will be saying, "Oh, I'm so happy for the Palace fans, man." Shut up! Shut up!
Talk
Support your
Sport will be
club.
actually
Shut up and support your
masturbating
club.
live on here.
Oh, Simon Jordan will.
I'm fed up
He's
with this.
been quite reasonable about it, to be fair. He did admit that they broke the rules.
Wokeness.
Okay, so let's just to wrap up, let's cover off this point because their argument is that John Textor has had no involvement, basically. The most
What a
expensive
load of
season.
bollocks.
to
They
get
released,
in the-
they
Earlier,
released
what
a
about-
tweet. They
They
literally
don't
tweeted
pay
it.
hundreds of millions of pounds and go to meetings and talk to managers and shit like that and have no influence. What a
They
load of
tweeted
rubbish.
saying
the
thank
money
you
he's
for your
invested.
involvement. They
Hello,
literally
it's the
tweeted
money he's
saying thank you for your
invested.
One at a
involvement.
time.
Right, when he buys a share of the club, he's making an investment in the club, isn't he?
Yeah, it's involvement.
Yeah.
He
So the
literally,
fact that-
oh my
the
god,
fact that
it's
they
so
were able
fucking
to hold.
it's so right. This is so fucking stupid, right? I'll tell you, I'm a director, right? The definition of a director is to make as much money as
Steven
possible
Spielberg.
for the shareholders and the directors. If that is not involvement in the club, then fucking hell, you've had a blanket pull over your eyes. It's absolute bollocks. They released a tweet saying thank you for your involvement. It's self-incrimination.
Contribution.
It's
Contribution.
self-incrimination.
Listen, if a Forest fan last season went to one football match or bought one item of whatever merch, you have an involvement. You have contributed to that club. You are involved.
Exactly. How can you say the
Never mind being
owner of a
director.
football club has no involvement?
Well, because you
I mean,
can
come
have
on.
silent partners.
Yeah, but he's not a silent partner. He's a majority shareholder.
Yeah, but
sold
look,
it now.
look,
Yeah, but
well, he
too
hasn't
late.
because it hasn't been ratified by the Premier
little,
League.
too
So that's
late.
another thing. It hasn't been ratified.
I'm sorry, but if I was Marinakis, I would go legal on their
When
ass.
do you need
This
to
is
draw
worth
up
a
the
lot of money.
fixtures for the Europa League? Is that why there's the deadline?
They've already started the qualifiers. The competition has started. This is the crazy thing about all of this.
Well, we need to know, don't we? Because we need to know whether we need to buy better players, etc., etc. Do we spend more
That's
money?
what I was saying. That's
There's a
why
massive
Mr. Merrick
monetary
is quite
value.
within his rights to say to him, can you tell us what's happening, please?
Exactly. 43% shareholder, and you're telling me he has no involvement in the club. I've never heard such bollocks in my whole life.
Well, I'll tell you
He has
what.
25% personal
Yes.
shares in them as
Yes.
well.
No. So yeah, he does. So his company owns 43%. Within that, he owns 25% of it. That's bang
Yeah,
on.
but that's
He was
just, yeah,
influential.
but that's
Hold
just
on.
hiding
Wait, let me
things.
just finish. Let me just land.
But we have companies that own other companies. You're just trying to hide things. It's bollocks. Don't put that
No,
out.
but this is the point.
You
They
do
say-
it now.
All right,
We're all
thi-
handing
Fucking
ourselves
hell.
in.
all right, this is the key
I'm
point.
gonna put my
right?
passport up next.
This is the key point,
Come
right?
on,
They
Wolfie, cut
say
it out.
that with his 43% or his company's 43%, he only, keyword only, gets a 1 in 4 vote count. That's why he's annoyed. Now, last time I learned to count was a very long time ago, but I'm pretty sure
Well,
1 is bigger than
25%.
0.
Exactly.
Therefore, that 25% share that he has, that by default surely says that he has influence or has a say in what happens. No matter how much D,
It
his
doesn't
little
matter.
git chilling in Mexico right now, is still messaging me every 5 minutes about Europa, right? No matter how they want to spin that, that's still an active contribution.
It doesn't
that he
even
has.
matter, right? You're voting stuff and how much say you have in the company and can you vote? It means absolute bollocks. He has got a direct involvement in that company. And if they let him off and say, "Oh, he owned it, but he didn't have anything to do with it," I'm sorry, but
Crazy, isn't it?
if I was
Crazy.
Marinakis,
Absolutely crazy.
I would go to the end of the world to legally prove that they are wrong. Because, as I've said, it's not fair on us fans. The Forest fans saying, "Oh, what about the Palace fans?" Well, what about the Forest fans, first of all? We're Forest fans. We're not Palace fans. Like, we don't support two different clubs. Ant does, but we don't. And the money in Marinakis' pocket, it'll be worth millions, probably tens of millions. So when all these Palace fans are crying, saying, "Oh, Marinakis shouldn't do this, it's pathetic." It's not pathetic. It's called business.
Would they not kick off if what's that guy called? Simon Big Nose guy. Parrish. Steve Parrish, sorry. If he did not do what Marinakis did if the roles were reversed, they'd be kicking off at him. They'd be kicking off at him. Just on that one there.
Forest did get the plays. Within a month, everybody had forgotten about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't let D forget about it, by the way. Just what
who really cares what Palace fans think?
Oh, D's been running his mouth. 1865 says, does it matter if Leon are kicked out? Okay, so the Leon situation adds a layer of complexity to it. So obviously, I'm pretty sure most people know. You good, mate? Can you just mute yourself while you're dying?
Sorry, I'm
gonna run a live.
Turn off the camera as well if you are actually going to die.
Yeah, if Flem is going to come
up.
No,
can you imagine the view? Can you imagine it go viral, man, if it died on screen? Come on.
Anyway,
when streamers die on camera, episode 9.
Is that a thing? Is that a thing?
You clearly don't have my YouTube recommendations. I've seen people falling off mountains and getting sucked into rivers and stuff like that. It is a thing. When
Rob, we're not talking about people getting sucked off in rivers. It's a football channel.
Anyway, Leon, right? So... Wait, we need Ez. Leon. They got relegated to League 2, right? To League 2, or whatever it's called. Yeah. That is separate to them being kicked out of the Europa League. They are still technically within the Europa League, although they could be sanctioned by UEFA to kick them out. Now, where the grey area is in all of this is the team that finishes higher in the league is the team that gets priority on qualification. Okay? So Lyon finished 6th in Ligue 1 and Palace finished, I'm assuming 12th. They always finish 12th. I'll bet my house they finished 12th this season as well. So by default, Lyon get priority. Now, by them getting relegated, does that then mean Palace have finished higher than Lyon?
No, they're getting relegated next season. They're playing in Ligue 2 next season.
Because they got relegated.
Last season's finished.
Yeah, but the
Europeans. They don't. When you get relegated through a censure like this, you don't get a position in the league. They don't say, "Oh, you've been relegated, therefore you finished 20th." Because if that was the case, the teams that had been relegated wouldn't be relegated.
Would stay up. Okay.
So I'm not saying this from a position of knowledge. I'm saying this from a position of logic.
You never do.
That they finished 6th, no matter what happened to them financially, they finished 6th.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Because otherwise,
it should always be you broke the law at the time. I'm not breaking it now, so let me off, judge.
Because technically they're still down to 6th in the French league.
Yeah. Well, that's where they finished. Financially, it's a different thing altogether, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll find out what happens tomorrow. We'll find out what happens tomorrow.
I'm just glad it's quickly. I'm just glad it's over, whichever way it goes.
It's not over tomorroar because if we don't get it, Marinakis is going to Cass. If we do get
Cass, we'll win. If we go to Cass, we'll win.
I'm not talking about never a foul.
More confident with Cass than UEFA.
What? You like never a foul that much, do you? You got full faith in Cass, have you? Cass hates Forest now, thanks
he is
to me.
A judge, and he does send people to jail, so he's very qualified.
Well, maybe he should send Texter to jail.
Yeah, definitely.
No, he's our boy. Leave him alone.
I don't know. I feel like Texter would have just left a nice little carrot.
I think he's double-sided, Marinakis. Like a mole.
All right. Anything more for any more before we wrap up? Who should we go to? Should we go to Carlos or should we go to LB or Saeed or Josh? Who do you lot want in the chat?
Well, definitely not Saeed. He's a Man U fan. I love the guy, but he's a Man U fan. And he also he's got over 100,000 subscribers already. He doesn't need any more.
Should we go Josh or should we go LB? And just spam 115 again. Who do you want to troll, chat? Who do you want to troll?
I mean, Josh, I feel sorry for because the way that they missed out on the Champions League was even worse than the way we did.
All right, we'll send them to Josh. And
They were literally ripped off by the referee, you know. So,
well, that's the kind of thing I expect to happen to Forest as well.
yeah.
Oh,
No,
super chat, sorry.
There's no referee intervention needed. We did it ourselves.
Sorry, we got a super chat from Marky Boy. Thank you for the £2. Because has the swear box been lost tonight? Do you see Mark? Like Ez's fault. He's the one who's meant to control all of this. So
I don't usually swear, but
yeah, you've been quite
I've
rowdy
been
tonight,
impressed
mate.
with you tonight.
Yeah, been quite rowdy.
I think you've had some Alco pops.
mate, I'm on the Brecon Carrig still water. Other water brands are available.
That's
What
Welsh
a
for
knobhead.
whiskey.
What a knobhead. I'm on lager.
All right. On that note, go say, what should we troll? Thanks, Mark, again for the £2. What should we troll Josh with? What's his title? Another day more silence. Villa losing out on Jesus Rodriguez. Villa transfer news. I don't know. Just someone say something to Josh.
The ref was right.
I'm a prick. All right. We'll see you on tomorrow's video. Please like, please subscribe. Come on, you Reds.
You Reds.